What up? What up? Peace, peace. Just finished this book, Our Time Is Now by Stacey Abrams. Our Time Is Now, Stacey Abrams. So Stacey Abrams is basically I don't know if she's from Atlanta, but she's a Georgia citizen, and she ran for governor in 2018. She did end up losing, but she has an extensive background. She's been dealing with political issues, civil rights issues, and basically our power to vote, right? So her mother, her a little bit about her background. Her mother is a librarian. Her father is a dyslexic shipyard worker. And in 1993 was when she was first put onto the game, you know what I'm saying, of politics and, running for different political parties and stuff like that, right? So in 1993, she was part of a lot of organizations. I think she was with some people from her college where they went to go speak at City Hall, and she burned what was it, Confederate flag? Remember now, she's in the South, right? So it probably was a Confederate flag. I don't know if it was either Confederate flag or the American flag. 1993, she burned a Confederate flag on the City Hall steps, right? And she got into the papers for that, and that's when I guess that was part of what was like the catalyst for people hearing about Stacey Abrams, right? So that was like a radical move, and it came back to haunt her later on in her when she tried to get elected for governor. You know what I'm saying? Her opposing candidates brought that up about her, and a lot of other stuff they try to say about her too. So that's just a little bit of her background. Stacey Abrams created, she wasn't able to win as governor, right? She didn't get elected as governor, but Stacey Abrams has like these I don't know what you call them, organizations, basically organizations that she has made, right? So she could still help voters get out there and vote, right? And she could still help in politics, right? Because that is her background, and that's what she is in tune with, right? She's in touch. She has her finger on the pulse of the people, right? Because she's a Democrat. And so her organizations are the Fair Fights Act, which Fair Fights helps to combat voter suppression and voter suppression and voter restriction. And then she has another organization called Fair Fights PAC, I think, and then another one called the Southern Economic something, right? And then that one is, or so the Fair Fights PAC is to excuse me, I skipped that one. So the Fair Fights PAC is to battle consensus, right? The consensus situation that we have where they do redistricting and from counting how many people are voting and how many people are not voting and stuff like that related to that. And then she has another organization called the Southern Economic something, and that battles with like policy, right? Policies that are made and from laws that are passed and stuff like that, right? Laws that are being made in legislation. So this was a good book. It has a story in here. She talks about how she was with Oprah, and Oprah made a speech at one of her campaigns, and Oprah talked about this man back in I think it was the 1940s or something like that, 1940s, a black man, right? And this is not too far after the civil rights, the Civil War and everything that went on, right? This is when blacks were first being allowed to vote. This black man traveled like how many, it was like 25 miles, I want to say. He traveled 25 miles, and he went to go vote, and then they told him, nah, boy, you at the wrong place, boy, you need to go to this spot. So then he traveled another 25 miles to go to the another spot. And they told him, nah, you're not at the right spot. You have to go to this spot. So then he traveled another 25 miles to go to another spot. And by then, I think he had been traveling for like 10 or 11 hours. So by the time he got to the last spot where he was traveling, where they told him to go to, it was sundown and the place had closed, right? So Oprah tells about that story, and a lot of people in the crowd were very angry and upset, right? Because these are things that have happened to our people in the past in our struggle to vote and have a voice in the laws that are made in our state and the laws that are made in our country, right? So Stacey Abrams talks about that as a tactic of voter suppression. From back in the days, that was voter suppression, and then she ramps it up, she speeds it up to now the voter suppression is basically moving ballots, right? So they'll have like a situation where they'll say, okay, this city or this city inside of this state has a lot of people who don't vote, right? Or it costs too much tax dollars to run buses back and forth through this area, so people could take the bus to go to this ballot place, right? So they'll move the ballot outside of the city, right? So people in the city cannot go to a convenient ballot that's close to them. You know what I'm saying? That's remote, where they can go and cast their ballot and vote, right? So that's a part of voter suppression nowadays. They also make it so that jobs do not offer you the they make it like a luxury thing, right? Laws are trying to make it a luxury where jobs pay you to take time off, a certain amount of time, to go off and vote. That's also another tactic of voter suppression. Also, another tactic of voter suppression is making it so that the machines, right, the machines that are used to cast the ballots and that people put their votes on in the ballots, they make those machines do not work, right? So they had a situation where a guy cast a ballot and the machine kept on picking the opposite person that he wanted to vote for, right? And holding up the line like that, trying to fix the machine and everything, holding up people to fix the machine and get that working and everything like that, holds up the line. So people stand in line for longer than they have to, or they're supposed to. And then so holding up that line makes it so that, if you've been anywhere and you waited in line and you've been waiting in line for like 3 hours, you just eventually leave, right? Either you're taking time off work, or you have to go pick your kids up or something like that. So a lot of people just leave. And so that's also a tactic of voter suppression that they also use. And that's what she tries to fight in her Fair Fight Act. You know what I'm saying? That's part of her organization. That's part of what her organization, Fair Fights Act of 2020, tried to battle, right? And that's all in this book. What I want to also talk about, she talked about voter restriction, right? So voter restriction also related to things like, Native Americans, different tribes and stuff like that, have land granted to them that they fought for, but the state or the government doesn't recognize it as their land, right? So what the state or the government will do, like Native American tribes, what they'll go ahead and do is they'll make it so that their address isn't right on their ID. And they'll say, well, you can't vote because the address on your ID doesn't match the address we have on file for you, right, where you get mail at. And so, and that also trickles down to sending them information about ballots and mail-in ballots, because they have something called mail-in ballots where it's like an absentee vote, I think is what it's called, where you can't. I'm just all learning about this stuff right now, you know what I'm saying, from reading this book. So excuse me if I speak a little patchy about it, but absentee ballots. So it's hard to mail in ballots and stuff like that. That's also a tactic of voter restriction, right? Restricting people to vote because their address doesn't match from their ID as it is for their residency, right? Their actual residency that's on file. They move addresses around and stuff like that for Native American tribes. They also do things where if you change what city you're in or what state you're in, they make it so that the signature you have on file, you have to sign a new signature or something like that, right? And so if your signature doesn't match what they have on file for the last ballot that you cast, last time you voted, if it doesn't look the same in any way, they can restrict you for that too. And that's also an issue, right? Because they are getting people who aren't like I don't know what they call them, forensic written people or something like that, forensic literature people or whatever. They're not able to see they're not able to discern the difference in signatures, right? Or the similarity in signatures, right? So people get sent back to home from going to cast their vote because of their signature doesn't look the same, right? So that's also a tactic of voter restriction. And then, it goes into policies and laws and stuff like that they also use to restrict. So This is a good book. One term I learned from this is yellow dog Democrat, you know what I'm saying? And that's what they call them. People who would rather vote for a yellow dog than a Republican. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't matter who they vote for. And that's also another thing. There's also people who are called swing voters and unlikely voters. Swing voters are people who basically vote for whoever has the most charm in their campaign. And unlikely voters are people who don't really vote too often. They just vote every now and then, here and there, you know what I'm saying? They don't really have a consistent thing where they vote. And so that's also part of what Stacey Abrams was trying to, who she was trying to reach out to and get votes from, you know what I'm saying? Because she said that's a big part of democracy that candidates don't tap into is swing voters and unlikely voters. And that could change the outcome of an election. So this book talks about a lot. I could go on and on. We're already 10 minutes into it, so I got to go ahead and end this. But yeah, this was a good book. I suggest you do read it. She has another book called Minority Something. She just talks about, I don't know what that book is about, but it's just about her as a minority voter. That's what a lot of people recognize her for, being the first black woman to be governor. That's what a lot of people were expecting. Didn't end that way, but she got a lot of experience, and she still does work to this day. Like I said, she has the Fair Fights Act organization, the Fair Fight PAC, and Southern Economic Policy Change organization. So yeah, I suggest you get this book, man. Good book. I learned a lot. Next book I'm reading is Logan Browning's book on her book club she just started. It's a March book called Great Expectations by Vinson Cunningham or Vinson Cunnings or something like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and read that book next, and then I'll update you on that. All right, y'all. Peace.